In a town in Wyoming, a group of friends sought some excitement on a chilly autumn evening. Among them was Melinda, a curious soul with a fascination for the paranormal, and her buddies who were up for anything. As the sun sank low, casting long shadows across the land, they stumbled upon an old, run-down homestead nestled in the hills. Folks said it was haunted, with spooky stories echoing through the valley. Ignoring the warnings, Melinda and her friends decided to try out a Ouija board they'd brought along. With jittery hands and hearts pounding in their chests, they gathered around and started asking questions. At first, nothing much happened. The pointer stayed still, making them wonder if the tales were just that, tales. But soon, it started moving, spelling out words like it had a mind of its own. Fear crept in as they realized they weren't alone. The spirits had answered their call, and they seemed eager to chat. Questions flew, and the answers they got sent shivers down their spines. But as the night wore on, things got tense. The messages turned darker, and the atmosphere grew heavy with unease. Melinda and her friends exchanged nervous glances, wondering if they'd opened a can of worms they couldn't close. Suddenly, the pointer shot off the board, crashing to the floor with a bang. The room fell silent, except for the sound of their racing hearts. They wasted no time gathering their stuff and getting out of there, leaving the Ouija board behind as a warning to others who might come across it. But as they made their way back through the dark, they couldn't shake the feeling of being followed. Something sinister lurking in the shadows. And as the night dragged on, they knew their encounter with the Ouija board was far from over. In the days that followed, strange occurrences plagued Melinda and her friends. Unexplained noises echoed through their homes, and shadowy figures seemed to lurk around every corner. They tried to convince themselves it was just their imaginations, but deep down, they knew the Ouija board had unleashed something dark and malevolent. Determined to rid themselves of the curse once and for all, they returned to the homestead, armed with sage and holy water. But as they performed the cleansing ritual, a bone-chilling wail echoed through the valley, sending them fleeing into the night. To this day, the old homestead stands abandoned, a grim reminder of the dangers that lurk in the shadows of the Wyoming wilderness. And Melinda and her friends, they learned the hard way that some doors should never be opened. Greenwood Academy, an ancient English school, once filled with secrets, now abandoned. 5 teens, bored with their daily routine, explore its forgotten halls. Liam, the skeptic, and Mia, his thrill-seeking companion, led the charge. Lily, the quiet bookworm intrigued by the paranormal, followed closely. Max, the charismatic leader, and Ava, the reserved observer with a hint of fear, completed their group. Armed with a dusty Ouija board borrowed from Liam's dorm room, they gathered in a dimly lit common area. Ignoring any tales of caution, they initiated the seance, their fingers tentatively resting on the pointer. Initially, their laughter filled the air as the pointer remained still, mocking their attempts. Liam, confident in his skepticism, taunted the spirits, while Lily's curiosity turned to apprehension with a chill that settled upon her. Suddenly, the pointer jerked, spelling out cryptic messages that sent shivers down their spines. Panic ensued as doors slammed shut, sealing their fate within the confines of the school. Liam felt an icy hand brush against his neck, causing him to recoil in terror. Mia, determined to escape, rushed towards the exit, only to find it sealed shut by an unseen force. Lily stumbled upon a dusty tome filled with ominous symbols, her fascination quickly turning to horror as the pages seemed to writhe with dark energy, trapping her within its grasp. Max, emboldened by his leadership, charged down the corridors, only to find himself ensnared in a maze of shifting walls, each turn leading him further from freedom. Ava, overwhelmed by shadowy figures flickering in her peripheral vision, attempted to flee, only to find herself running in circles, pursued by unseen forces. As the night descended into chaos, each faced their deepest fears and regrets, realizing the grave mistake they had made in meddling with forces beyond their comprehension. Liam left the school at dawn, his mind shattered by the horrors he'd seen. His friend's fate remained a mystery, buried within Greenwood Academy's walls. And as the sun rose, the academy stood silent, keeping its secrets forever. On a stormy night, Jane found herself in the dimly lit parlor of a fortune teller, desperate to communicate with her recently passed mother. The fortune teller, a mysterious figure with a shroud of secrecy, agreed to help Jane with a seance using a makeshift Ouija board. As they began to ask questions, the pointer moved with an eerie energy, spelling out cryptic messages. Jane's heart raced as the pointer seemed to be responding to her questions, and she felt a surge of both hope and fear. The fortune teller watched with a mix of anticipation and unease, her eyes betraying a sinister intent. Suddenly, a chill filled the room, and the candles flickered wildly. The pointer began moving frantically, spelling out a name: Malachi. The fortune teller's initial composure turned to a knowing smile, as if she'd been waiting for this moment. The room grew darker as a presence filled the space, and a figure materialized in the corner of the room. It was a shadowy, indistinct shape, but its eyes glowed with a sinister light. Jane's unease turned to fear as she realized that the fortune teller had been in league with this malevolent force all along. As the malevolent force enveloped the fortune teller, she twisted into a grotesque figure, her voice now carrying the chilling resonance of Malachi. Jane's fight or flight response kicked in, and with a surge of adrenaline, she pushed past the possessed fortune teller and sprinted for the door, her terror lending her speed and agility. As she burst out into the stormy night, she looked back to see the fortune teller's parlor consumed in an otherworldly glow, the possessed figure writhing in torment. Jane knew she had narrowly escaped a fate worse than death, but she also knew that the malevolent force was still out there, seeking to ensnare lost souls like her. As days went by, Jane couldn't shake the haunting memories of the fortune teller's parlor and the malevolent force that had tried to trap her. The nightmares kept her awake, and soon she found herself in a bleak asylum. Her once lively demeanor faded, replaced by a haunting emptiness. No one could get her to speak, except for one chilling word that she repeated over and over: Malachi.